My name is Michelle Crocap. I am currently the HR manager at Kendal College. I've been here since March 2023. My previous roles include, I was in hospitality for 30 years, of which I was operationally responsible for a large hotel off the banks of Windermere called the Lowood Bay for 15 years of that. And then whilst overseeing HR, I decided, whilst having a child, that HR was more suitable hours for me. So I went into HR and started doing appraisals, reviews and everything that IP offers. And then from that, after 5 years, moved to Kendal College. So my whole background is either hospitality or HR.
Okay, so I am Kelly Horner. I am currently the head of quality at Kendal College. I've been in that post since the beginning of October 2023. Prior to that, I was the head, one of the head of apprenticeships at Kendal College for 17 years. So worked in education for a long time. I have been a CollegeiP user from an individual user point of view, from a manager point of view, but now with my head of quality role, I've got much more influence and sort of wider use of the platform that generally helps me on a day-to-day basis, rather than in my old role where I would go in when I had my review coming up, and then when I was in my management role, I would go in when I had one of my employees' reviews coming up. So I've used it in lots of different levels, and but certainly now I'm seeing it for its whole sort of functionality.
All right, thank you very much. So I suppose now we've heard about you, the next stage is to hear a bit about the college. So are you able to just give me a brief explanation about the college, its size, its location?
Okay, yeah, you want me to do that one? So we're based in the Lake District, so we have a relatively rural service that we have to be able to offer to. We've got approximately 4,000 students, 4,000 to 4,500 students who will study full-time programs, so the 16 to 18 programs, and then we have part-time. We have some HE provision, but that's quite small. And then we have a comparatively large apprenticeship provision where we have about 600 apprentices. Given the size of the college, our apprenticeship provision is quite a lot bigger. And we've got about 250 plus staff, I think. 380 staff, which so from teachers to support staff, bless. Wow. And we don't specialise as such, but our largest provision is hospitality because of where we are, health and social care, and we also have a huge agriculture provision as well. So we do T-levels, and as part of our full-time provision, and those numbers really have increased recently because we took over from another local college that closed down, so we took over that A-level provision. We are we serve our community well. We've been in the community for a very long time. We've got really close relationships with our employers. Our staff tend to stay with us for a long time, and I think I'm one example of that, and we've got a huge range of other examples of that. So actually being able to provide a really strong HR support with CollegeiP to our staff is really important to us, alongside the other kind of buffers that we have around that.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question, I don't know how much detail you might be able to give us on it, but do you know why the college initially chose CollegeiP?
Before my time.
No, before my time too. I mean, weirdly enough, I'm trying to remember what we did before, what we had before CollegeiP. We didn't, it was paper folders, so we didn't have a system and spreadsheets. So what guides us towards that, I really, really don't know. We're part of lots of like the Association of Colleges and sort of local forums. We're part of a lot of those. I don't even know if the other, because we've got FE4 in Cumbria, which is the other three other local colleges and us, and we've got a kind of a consortium agreement, and whether or not it's come from that consortium agreement, I don't know. So whether Lakes College, Farners College and Kendal College have CollegeiP as well, that might be where it's come from, because we generally do a lot like that.
Yeah, we have Lakes College. We don't have the other two colleges, but we have Lakes College, so it might have come from Lakes College.
It could come from there. It does tend to happen quite a lot. We use some similar systems because we share that kind of expertise and best practice.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. The next question is about, I suppose, the guidance and support. And what we pride ourselves on is working closely with organisations, whether they're schools, whether they're colleges. How practical and effective do you find the guidance and support that you're given?
From IP?
Yeah.
I'm new to IP, so I first got introduced to it. I've had no training from anybody on site here at college. So I found your help functions really useful. And then there was one point with the work that Kelly and I have just been doing that I thought I actually don't know where to go with this. So I found you, and since that point, I feel like it's just been great support from start to finish, and to the point that you don't leave it until you know we fully understand it. And I find that that's with the help function of IP and with you as an individual, we've got that huge level of support, which as a new user to IP, and in fact to education, that's been really useful and brilliant.
Okay, thank you.
And I think I would add to that, if that's okay.
No, that's fine.
I think the beauty of the experience I've had with all of the different levels and the different layers is that we've got that instant help function. And I think so I've got a lot of staff who used to be incredibly dependent on me giving the answer or pointing them in the right direction, but then they would come back and they'd say, oh, I used the chat function and I got it sorted really quickly. And we don't have that on many platforms because people want to be independent, and we obviously want independence. So that in itself is a huge bonus, certainly from managing the effectiveness of the platform. But also, and exactly what Michelle says, the experience that comes along with the advice from an education point of view is really valuable, because we'll quite often have an idea and that experience advice that we get throws a curveball in, which is just what we need. And that's because of that education background that's there, and it so really helps us make sure we've got the right outcome at the end of it.
Oh, thank you very much. And next question, I suppose, about you and your organisation, because most of you have taken on roles quite recently. One obviously new to the college, someone taking on a different role in the college. And one thing that we're aware of is change management, and about how because CollegeiP has been at the college for a number of years, but then both of you have then started to take it to a new level. But when you make any kind of changes, you have to be careful about the change management. So when you started making your fine-tuning and changes, what was the process? How did you go about doing that? Because some people go in there and put both feet in there and say, off you go. How did you go about making the subtle changes in your organisation?
I think we got buy-in from the senior team. We recognised there was a flaw in this case probation, and that we couldn't report on where we were up to. So we highlighted that was a big concern from HR perspective for sure. And a lot of what Kelly does is to do with new employees and their observations and that kind of thing. So we went to SLT and kind of said, listen, there's a huge issue with this. This is what we want to explore. And we were given full support on that. And then Kelly and I have just run with it. So when we kind of reopen college, Kelly and I will do some kind of in-depth training with those managers and senior teams, and they will buy into it because they respect the position that Kelly and I have and the fact that we're supported from our directors. So they go along with it.
Oh, okay. Because that more or less leads into our next question, is about what has been the overall reaction of your school leaders and your colleagues towards CollegeiP?
I think from the point of view that we are another part of, I suppose, another contribution towards the change process, what's the alternative? So we are very clear about what the expectations are. So I think we set really clear expectations. And if those expectations aren't being met in the way that we would have set out, so for example, providing reports on CollegeiP or updating CollegeiP or whatever that is, the alternative wasn't being used. So those expectations are then really clear, and we set the minimum expectations, and those are straightforward and they're accessible and everyone knows them because they can log into CollegeiP and they know how to use it. So when we set the basic minimum expectations, people naturally build from them and they see the opportunity that it gives. So there's not a lot of convincing required, if we're really honest, because managers see that the alternative isn't there, or the alternative gets lost and it's not consistent and it doesn't meet the expectations. So and because it's a good platform, it's a good product, it means that people run with it and there's not as much resistance. Sometimes we just have to spend a little bit of time going through it very quietly and showing how it's not clunky, it's actually quite intuitive. So therefore, just giving someone that little bit of time to trust their next moves is often enough, and it creates a longer term benefit because they trust the system and they trust their understanding of the system.
Okay, that's obviously come from both of you leading it as well, so you've got to give yourself a pat on the back for that as well. Yeah. If everything went swimmingly and smoothly in life, it will be great. But I'm a realist and realise it doesn't quite go everything according to plan. Have there been any significant challenges or obstacles you've come across?
I wouldn't say so, because even though we wanted it to go one way, the alternative was good enough.
Yeah. And it was the curveball that we needed sometimes, wasn't it? The curveball was enough to say, actually, yeah, I get why that won't work. No, because I genuinely, when I first took over in this role, I wanted to do everything in CollegeiP. I wanted it to be the single source of truth almost. And if it's not in CollegeiP, it didn't happen. That was kind of the mantra I wanted to follow. And there's not, initially, I couldn't, because I didn't know the system to start off with, I couldn't imagine how I was going to do it. But then when I was given the right access, thank you, when I was given the right access and I could see what the opportunities were, there was never really a huge, there weren't barriers that we couldn't get over. Even when I thought there was a barrier, it was really easy to identify how to overcome that. And sometimes it was just the language that was used. It was sometimes, just what some of the reports were called. But I could see, I think part of that as well is because the girl who I took over from was really confident using it as well. So Tam, I don't know if you had much to do with Tam Breeze, she had real confidence in it as well. And she exuded that confidence when we were all using it as well. So it kind of followed on from that. But I can't even come up with an example of a challenge that we've not been able to overcome.
Oh, that's great. So, and what, obviously, as we're more or less having this conversation, what functions do you use in CollegeiP?
From a HR perspective, it's definitely the one-to-ones, definitely the target action points. HR is all about backup. If someone's going to fail a probation review, the first thing I say is it logged on CollegeiP? And if it's not on CollegeiP, it doesn't happen, because if I haven't got the backup, I won't go through anything with any staff. So the one-to-ones is imperative for me. The target setting is helpful, and I use the competencies when someone needs their own confidence boost. We've got a lot of staff who've recently been promoted and they've got a bit of imposter syndrome, or they actually think they've got the job on a fluke. So I'll get them to plot in their competencies. And actually when they do that and their manager does it, it builds them. So I think those functions are imperative for me.
And I think I'm very similar. I probably use the reports more. So we used more of the monitoring side of it, and a bit more detail with the different reports. The one-to-ones, I just think you can't get enough of them. They are just so important. The competencies, I'm kind of reviewing my thoughts around them, but just hearing Michelle talk about them like that, I kind of reminds me of the value of them. Targets, areas for development. We maybe don't use the evidence tabs so much. We maybe should get better at that. We tend to do a bit more of a dialogue than actually sort of uploading bits of evidence, that kind of thing. The one area that we probably use less of, which might be leading into your next question, is the QUIP, where we will be using less of the QUIP. We've had to take the QUIP outside of CollegeiP for various different reasons. We were beaten up a little bit by Ofsted because of our QUIP. They said it was all too complicated, so we've had to really drill down. I know that I could do that in CollegeiP. I know that we could simplify it possibly a little bit more, but I've had to take it out and look at how we present it to the teams so that they're accountable for it. When it was in CollegeiP, they were messing it up left, right, and centre by getting and adding weird and wonderful outcomes and activities that didn't link to anything, and so and we've just filtered down to link them all to our teaching and learning charter pledges. And what my plan is that we'll use the QUIP outside of CollegeiP this year just to get it established, and then I'll bring it back into CollegeiP with much more confidence around how it's used from next year. So that you will see that one going a little bit quieter.
That's fine. That's okay.
Yeah, it was just purely being able to get it exactly as we wanted it, trial it, pilot it, roll it out without having this sort of added complexity of setting it all up within the system, which is not that complex, but just to make sure we get it right.
That's fine. So in theory, that more or less comes into your future plans and the ideas of what you intend moving it. I suppose, as you've both put lots of hard work into CollegeiP, and I suppose one of the big things that you have from your SLT is about impact. So what differences have you seen to the college since both of you have taken over in your roles and you developed CollegeiP? So what changes, what information, what data has it produced? And has that helped? Because I know you said about your QUIP with Ofsted, but were the other elements, for example, showcased at Ofsted, and they haven't said anything?
Yeah, definitely from the point of view of managing performance, having the evidence of the evidence trail of identifying areas for development, how those are going to be monitored and managed and supported, and then the impact of those. That's what we were able to show really easily with Ofsted last time. And actually now we've got, I report to the governors every month, and 9 times out of 10, but most meetings I'm taking along evidence from CollegeiP to show the trail of a decision that we've made. And that's the impact it has. Like I say, it's a single source of truth. If it's not in CollegeiP, it didn't happen. So if that support wasn't offered, isn't in CollegeiP, it wasn't offered. If that course hasn't been logged in there, it hasn't been offered, kind of thing. And I think that's where the impact is. It's about having that single source of information that is reliable. It's not perfect by any means. We're not at that perfect stage yet, but we're most definitely in the right direction for it to be perfect. I don't know.
No, for me, there's two forms with IP. One is, as I said, it's the trail for me. So from HR perspective, you'd never contemplate extending or ending someone's probation without the backup trail that IP offers, or even giving them more support or more CPD. Quite often somebody will identify an area of weakness, and actually rather than targeting that as a weakness, we use that as an opportunity to develop them. So IP is invaluable for me, but the recent work we've done with the probations, that won't show itself in its reporting form until September when I start that. So I'm now required on a monthly basis to report to SLT on where we're at with probation. Now we've got the system in place ready to do it. Whereas before Kelly and I had done this work with you, I wasn't in a position to be able to prove or disprove where people were up to. So it will be invaluable moving forward for this new academic year.
And I've only got one final question, really, and I suppose if you had the opportunity to somebody who was listening to this to say, should you choose CollegeiP, what would your answer be to another college out there?
I would say it's the best tracking performance review system I've used in my 20 odd plus years of HR, albeit I'm new to education. when you look at other systems I've worked with, it's not as comprehensive. It doesn't have as much opportunity to log and to provide evidence. And I'm learning the reporting suite. I'm not where Kelly is yet. But I feel like the reporting that I've been able to use is the most comprehensive version of any of the previous systems I've used for training, for audits, for reviews. So for me, I would definitely recommend it from a HR perspective.
And I agree from a sort of CPD continuous improvement perspective. The beauty of it is that it has everything inbuilt in it, but with the flexibilities that we need to be able to individualize it, and that's where it works for me. It's got the baseline there already, and then we can build upon that, which is where we individualize it. So I would say from a college's point of view, if you want something that you can really work with, that you can have a reliable and strong platform to develop and become individualized, that's CollegeiP as your platform for that.
Oh, thank you very much. Thank you.